Today I fucked up by telling my boyfriend I'm bi. This all happened around a year and a half ago. For a little background, I, 17F, had a bit of a self-discovery journey during lockdown where I realized that I was bisexual. At that point, I was beginning to feel comfortable with my sexuality and wanted to start coming out to close friends and family, and of course my boyfriend, 17M, who we'll call Troy. We'd been dating for a little under a year at that point, but we've been best friends since we were both little. It was a day after Christmas. I was staying over at his place for the holidays since all of my family were busy that year. We were on the sofa bed talking about random things, until we got the topic of our celebrity free passes. He asked me to say mine first as he couldn't think of one yet. I thought it would be a perfect excuse to come out to him, so I said, Shania Twain. Wait, isn't she a girl? He says, looking genuinely confused. I giggled, she's a woman, and yeah, I'm bisexual. He sat up and turned to face me. What's that mean? I'm surprised to hear he doesn't know, but I give him the benefit of the doubt and explain what being bisexual is. His eyes wander around for a bit, like he's in thought. He asks, so some girls can like other girls? I respond, yes? What about boys? I'm actually taken aback. He can't be for real, right? There's no way a teenager in the year 2021 doesn't know the concept of homosexuality. I always knew Troy wasn't the smartest cookie, but this? No way. I tell him exactly that. He apologizes and stares into nothing for a bit more. A few moments later he says, I've never actually thought about stuff like that. I don't sense any sarcasm in his voice, and he looks like he's being genuine. Well, what are you thinking now? I ask. He takes a deep breath and sits on the edge of the sofa bed. He answers, a lot of things. He gets up and walks towards his room. I try to follow him, but he repeatedly shuts me down and tells me he needs to be alone for a bit. I lay back down on the sofa trying to make sense of what just happened. Does he see me different now? Is he homophobic? Are we still together? A plethora of questions race through my head but are interrupted by the sound of his parents' car parking outside on the driveway. Troy doesn't bolt downstairs as he usually does, so I know this is serious. I greet them at the doorway and tell them about what happened, barring the sexuality talk. They tell me he just does this sometimes, whenever he's emotional or in deep thought. I try to trust their words, but I'm still worried. I stay at theirs for a bit longer but decide to just go back home after realizing Troy won't be coming down anytime soon. Now when I tell you this boy left me without a trace, I mean it. It was the middle of our winter break, so it wouldn't be another 2 weeks until we're forced to go back to school, but during those 2 weeks it was like complete radio silence. He stopped answering calls, he stopped replying to messages or even reading them in the first place. I tried multiple times to go back, but his parents kept telling me he's still not out. I was worried, confused, and annoyed all at once. Finally, the day comes where school resumes and there would be no way for him to avoid me. He tries though, and it was made easier for him as he has different classes from mine. Eventually, I was able to corner him on the walk home. It wasn't my proudest moment, but I started going off on him, berating, screaming, crying, telling him how I felt in front of a decent number of schoolmates. He just stands there as I do this, silent, with a regretful look on his face. Once I calm down a bit, he starts sprinting away towards his house. I try to catch up, but there's no way I can compete with a star running back. I know where he's bound though, so I make my way to his house. It takes me about 40 minutes to get there, and I arrive to see his parents already waiting at the door. They welcome me in, first time in a while, and tell me that Troy is waiting for me in his room. I confusedly, and tiredly, make my way over there to see him hunched over sitting at the edge of his bed. I stay at his desk and wait. I already blurted out everything I wanted to say earlier, so I just sit there. Every second in that moment felt like years, but eventually I decide to break the silence with a "So?" He finally looks up at me, with a solemn expression, and just responds with a shaky, "I'm gay." He sounds like he's about to cry. "What? I like guys. Are you serious?" I try to keep my calm. "Yeah, I'm sorry." I pause, and think. "How long have you known?" It was always there, I guess, just never knew how to describe it. "Well, what about me?" "What about you?" "I'm a girl, you egghead. You asked me to be your girlfriend. You said you liked me. Was that just a lie?" "N number. I do like you. A lot. You're the best friend I've ever had. It's just that. A best friend? And it was nothing more, was it?" Yeah, that's it. I just thought that if I liked you a lot and you're okay, I get it, you do. Not completely. but I can see how it happened, So. I take a deep breath. Well, it wouldn't be fair if I got mad at you for coming out, would it? He shrugs. We talk longer about our feelings, but I think the beginning summed it up well enough for this story. We officially broke up afterwards, of course, but chose to remain best friends. Fast forward to today, me and Troy go to different colleges, but we keep up often. I like to say he went from my boyfriend to my gay best friend. Last I checked, he's exchanging back and forths with a guy from his school's swim team. As for me, I've found myself a lovely roommate, girlfriend. I personally count this as a fuck up, even if it had a relatively happy ending, since the whole chain of events started with me wanting to come out to Troy. Apologies if it doesn't really fit the sub, and I would appreciate feedback as to where this story could better belong, cause me and Troy both want to share this bizarre situation we got ourselves into. Too long did not read. I told my boyfriend I'm bi, which led to him realize that he was gay. This is kinda Wattpad sounding, to be honest. This is not a fuck up. You help someone find out who they are and be themselves. LGBTQ fanfic. This is nonsense. A little clarification, me and Troy were 17 during the story, not currently. Not sure if that was clear enough. Today I fucked up by trusting our neighbor to read the gender results for our expected baby. Happened today. My wife and I are expecting, and we elected to get a full panel of genetic testing done at 12 weeks. The results came in and there was a note from the office that the gender of the baby was included in these results, and if we didn't want to see them yet, do not open, and the doctor will give us our results next time we came in for an appointment via envelope. We were both super excited, and maybe that is the first foo. It was Thursday and we decided we wanted to do our own gender reveal with a cake on the weekend. We then will send out some gender reveal trinkets to our relatives and friends who are scattered all about the country. We schemed all sorts of ways we could get the results, from rather involved ones like me creating a script that could read the result parsed from the PDF, software guy, to just annoying ones like driving the hour to the office to get them to write it on a paper, to rather sensible ones like having a trusted, but minimally invested, third party take the phone, look at the results, and write it down. We went with the latter. The foreshadowing is likely strong here, but that was the next foo. Our neighbor is a sweet lady, recently retired and happily obliged. She took the phone and little did we know it was many documents. Genetic results, disclosures, page after page of medical jargon. My wife could not help guide her in fear of seeing the results herself. After 15 minutes she excitedly exclaimed, "Oh! I got it. I know what it is. Go away," as she wrote it down secretly to put in an envelope. This envelope went to a baker, with instructions to create out gender reveal cake for two. Today we picked up that cake. My wife was visibly more nervous than I was. She kept stalling and wanting to position the phone camera a certain way, set out plates, clean the countertops before filming, etc. We finally get set for the big reveal. We cut the cake together. 1 cut. Can't tell. 2 cuts. Can't tell. Get the server. We scoop out this large 7 inches cake slice and, well, what the hell is it? It's just vanilla on the inside. This is all on film and wife and I are just silent, both staring up at this slice of cake that I have raised up in the air. The dog is behind the shot, also staring at this piece of cake in awe, albeit for much different reasons. After abnormally long pause, I notice that the thin layer of frosting in the middle is pink. It's a girl. It's a girl? I mean, I think it's a girl. My wife's face is priceless. She is so mad that the instructions she gave the baker, dye the cake the color, the whole reason we went with just a plain vanilla base, were clearly ignored. The cake was also kind of smooshed and we paid $50, but whatever. Just to double check, we look at the paper that the neighbor had sealed, baker had given back to us. It's a female. I chuckled that it was written that way, as I would think boy or girl, but good enough for me. But hey, it's a girl. Our baby girl. We kiss and hug and are thrilled. My little girl's entire existence flashes before my eyes. I'm coaching softball. I'm cheering her on far too loudly at a debate team or math competition. I'm walking her down the aisle. But immediately after, my wife starts ripping through her phone. She wants more confirmation. I'm like, hey, you okay? She is ignoring me. Ripping through her phone. I am over her shoulder. Medical jargon. Medical jargon. And then a page. Patient. First name, last name. Sex. Female. Baby gender. Male. In our neighbor's haste, she saw the patient's gender and misjudged. Call it a mother's intuition that my wife felt it was always a boy. We created a short second video recording to write the official record, laughed at the absurdity of it all, and enjoyed our smooshed, mediocre, wrongly gendered cake. It was the best cake I ever had. Too long did not read. Had our neighbor act as a minimally invested trusted third party to read the gender results of our baby. She misread them, the cake we had a baker create was wrong, and I celebrated the life of the daughter I do not have. Little bastard is already driving me crazy. Brilliant. Never trust your neighbor with cake again. Open mouth smile and congratulations on your son. Congratulations. Your baby is white? Ha 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 ha. I love your neighbor. Good for her for doing that. Plot twist. The son is trans and the neighbor is a psychic. Congratulations on literally living this scene. Today I fucked up by getting expelled from my high school. For some backstory, this was actually a couple years ago, sometime in October in 2021. I had just finished high school diploma and was going back for a 5th year to improve some marks. A year prior, I had a teacher who I will call Mr. Lazy. Mr. Lazy was known for being a really crappy teacher. Whenever people had Mr. Lazy, they would immediately try to switch classes or just drop it completely. In my case, I didn't. I wish I did. I had him for grade 12 university-level physics. I don't think Mr. Lazy talked about physics once. Mr. Lazy had no syllabus, a schedule, or a Google Classroom, which is fairly standard in Ontario, Canada. Instead, Mr. Lazy had all of his files on an unorganized Google Drive. This was just one of his many examples of how lazy he actually was. Mr. Lazy never liked marking, so all of our tests were online multiple choice. In the grand scheme of things, the test never actually mattered and he just gave you a grade he thought you deserved. Before my final lab, I had an 86 in the class. When I got my final mark, it said I had gotten a 72%. This devastated me because this meant he screwed me over in my university applications. I couldn't get into the programs I wanted to all because he refused to do a job he was paid to do. After this, I sent him an email asking him how my final mark was so low, especially since I had an 86 in the class and the lab was only worth 5% of my mark. He never responded. I then got my mom to send an email with the principal attached. Only then did he lambaste my lab. He returned it with a 0 and nothing really stating what was wrong with it. In Ontario, it's almost impossible to mark a 7-page 12-font size lab a 0, no matter how bad he thought it was. Keep in mind he had no outline for this lab, or how he wanted it. When I finished writing my lab, I got my mom, who is a high school science teacher and past engineer, to check it over. Even one of her colleges, a high school physics teacher, said that they would have marked it somewhere around an 80. I took my issue to the principal and he told me to basically go F myself, and here is when I started planning my revenge. My idea was to print a bunch of stickers that said, "I would rather watch TV than mark a lab." Mr. Lazy, a family friend who's a graphic designer, made a quick design for me to use and all I did was pay a website to make the sticker for me. By the time the stickers came in, the COVID lockdown started again and school wasn't open. So I had planned to do it the following year. At first, putting up the stickers was great. I put them everywhere, especially making a point to put them on his door and everywhere he would walk through. I started leaving piles of stickers around the school in hopes of other students putting them up, which they did. Mr. Lazy was short, so I also made sure to put them in hard-to-reach places like on fire exit signs and on the ceiling. All said and done, I had stuck 200 of them around the school. On multiple occasions I saw him scrapping off the stickers. The ironic part is that he would have done less work if he marked my lab. Eventually a teacher saw me putting up one of these stickers and that's when I was caught. My vice principals all asked me why I did it, and when I asked why they never raised my mark, they went silent. I voiced that the people who are supposed to look over student well-being are the ones ignoring it. It probably didn't help my situation that I called them lazy and incompetent. By the end of it, they told me what I had done was premeditated, targeted, and harassment. My punishment was an involuntary unenrollment and told me I was no longer welcome on school grounds, aka expulsion. From what I had heard, Mr. Lazy took some time off and he is still not teaching at the same school. I regret nothing, and I would do it again, only this time I would have bought more. TLR. A teacher didn't mark my stuff correctly, so I made a bunch of stickers about him and placed them everywhere. I regret nothing, and I would do it again, only this time I would have bought more. Don't see why you're calling it a fuck up then. Explain the Canadian education system to me. You had your high school diploma, so couldn't you just go to university instead of a 5th year there? Did you have to improve some marks to get into a better university? Maybe I should go back to improve some marks too. Graduated in '91. Mr. Lazy is just mad because of the Leafs. I hated school, and when I graduated I left the entire state and never looked back. Time to be an adult and grow up and do grown-up things. Today I fucked up by sleeping with a young woman, legal. So, I don't tend to go out. Hardly ever. When I go out, I make it my mission to only go to +21 clubs as it is more my environment. This time was no different. 2 months ago, I went to the club and was having a lot of fun. A pretty tall girl, around 5'9", bumped into me, she smiled, and I smiled back, held her hand and started dancing. Dancing led to making out, and at the end of the night, she came home with me. We got intimate. Over the past 7 weeks, we have been consistently having sex a few times per week and going out. 5 nights ago, after having sex, she slipped up the fact that she lost her virginity to me the night we met. I was confused. It is not a big deal, but the following question for me was her age. She told me she turned 17 3 months ago. My heart sank. Don't ask me how or why, but I never asked her age as the club was +21. I thought she was 23, God knows why. As soon as I heard her age, she noticed my facial expression changed drastically. My concern was not legality as it is legal, but morality. I have no interest in being sexually involved with anyone under 22 as I am 25. I tried to keep it cool and saved the topic as I could see since the first time we had sex that she got super attached very fast. When it was time for her to leave, I got her an Uber. The next day, I told her that I could not keep it going as the age difference was too much for me and I was unaware of the age difference. She called me, I picked up and she was crying, trying to give me an explanation. I did not know what to say. I tried consoling her and took the blame as I should have asked her age beforehand, but we met in a +21 club. So, I assume she was over 21. She has been blasting my phone, sending me pics crying, IG messages. I understand that at that age one is not as emotionally mature and people tend to get attached to those they lose their virginity with. It does not help that I did not treat it like an FWB but took her out on a few fun dates and basically the girlfriend experience for that short period of time. So, I can see how she got attached this fast at her age. But I just cannot and will not be involved with anyone under 22. She is still texting me and I feel like absolute shit. What do I do? Too long did not read. Today I fucked up by accidentally sleeping with a younger girl and now she is fully attached. Sucks, but definitely a lesson. If age of consent in your state or country is 17, you're all good. Just be more careful next time. Genuine question. How do you talk for 7 weeks and age never comes up? Also at 17, isn't she living at home or something? I'll probably be downvoted for this, but I don't see any problem with this relationship if you were otherwise having fun and enjoying her company like any other normal relationship. For me, morality would be an issue if you were taking advantage of a power differential, e.g. teacher and student, or if you were specifically targeting and grooming a young girl to manipulate her. But you met organically, and if you're treating her with respect and as an equal partner, like you would with a woman in your preferred age range, I don't see any morality issues. Is this in the UK? Because if it is, yes, the age of consent is 16 here, but if you have sexually explicit images of her at age 17, that can still be classed as possession of child pornography. In the eyes of the law, she's still a child until she turns 18. Be very careful. Wow. You were her first and, for now, the emotional attachment is very real for her. You did the right thing by refusing to see her again, even though you feel bad.